Well, you're saying that, like, on your podcast that when you were doing your research for the Ken Penders era episode, that you said the only time Sega actually reached out to Ken to say no was to not kill Sally Acorn.
Right.
Yes.
Right. That was the one time, because apparently they had marketing issue, or like a marketing thing planned for Sally, which again, by the point Endgame came out, Sat AM was already long since, like, I think maybe 2 years since it was canceled. So I don't understand what they meant by that. But you know what? Good for them for actually saying no for once. I will also say, though, as far as like Ken being told no, I have since found another instance during the said Endgame arc for whatever reason. I just kind of feel like I should look this up at this point, but for whatever reason, Ken wanted to make the cover of, I think it was issue 47, basically just making it a huge joke about the OJ trial, because
I've seen this.
That issue was about like Sonic on trial. Okay, I found it here. It's like Sonic is like, I could not do it, I would not do it, I did not do it. I assume this shark lawyer is supposed to be Robert Kardashian. If the gloves don't fit, you must acquit. I mean, Ken, did you really think this would be approved? Why did you do this? Wait, this is called the real trial of the century. I didn't see that before. God, Ken! God damn it!
I have not seen him like this. I think he's breaking again. Speed, brother, you must calm down. It's okay. It's behind us. We no longer need to fear.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sonic Historian Podcast. My name is Radrey, and today I am joined by my co-host Mark and our special guest, Speed, Yugata, and Aaron.
Hey guys, what's going on?
What's up? How y'all doing?
So, Speed and Aaron, they do a podcast titled the Sonic Archie Digest. Did I get that right?
Other way around.
Oh, Archie Sonic
Digest.
Excuse me.
Archie Sonic Digest. There you go.
Archie Sonic Dyslexia. And on that show, they go through every single issue, and you do a deep dive analysis on every, I guess, Archie Sonic comic? Is that what the goal is?
That is indeed the goal, yes.
What happens when you run out of comics? Because, the Archie series dies at 290.
Well, that's something that we've both discussed, and the plan is that once we get to that end point, we want to transition, kind of rebrand the show into the IDW comics. And while that is obviously an ongoing comic, we're going to end up hitting a wall, but let's just say for now, we'll deal with that when we get there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, there's a lot to go through. That's true.
What about touching on the Sonic the comic from the United Kingdom?
Well, I never considered that, actually.
I've been reading it myself, and it's pretty good. I'm actually really enjoying it.
Really? Because I've actually been mentioned that once or twice before, and truth be told, I feel like I need to be sold on Sonic the comic, because it's not something that I grew up with, and the little tidbits I've seen here and there, while are like Archie tier in terms of the out of context panels, I think my favorite one that I've seen is Tails being given a shotgun and being told to execute Robotnik JFK style. So if it's more like that, maybe I'll give it a listen. I'll give it a read.
My familiarity with STH comes from hearing about it growing up primarily through YouTubers and watching the really good Cybershell video on it. If you guys know who Cybershell is.
Oh, yeah, of course. That's the one who introduced me who Ken Penders was. I had no idea who that guy was.
Yeah, I know. He was the gateway for a lot of people.
I was thinking about this today. It's just sort of like, you think of the Mario fandom, right? It's like, because everybody always, when I talk to some people who are in the Sonic fan, they're like, well, it's just like every other fandom. And I'm thinking about this thinking, wait a minute. There's no Chris Chan in the Mario fandom. There's no, Savvy the Classic Sonic fan in the Mario fandom. Is there a Ken Penders in the Mario fandom?
Well,
here we go.
There was one guy. I don't know if you guys remember this, but back when
please don't tell
amiibos
me who
were
I
really
think this is.
popular.
God fucking damn it. I know exactly what the fuck he's gonna talk about now.
It's do you guys remember Mario Plumber? Do you guys remember this
No.
guy? Okay, so he was like obsessed with the fact, I'm pretty sure that he was like this weirdly racist and like bigoted like Mario fan, and he got really mad about like Rosalina being in Smash, and like bought all these Rosalina amiibo figures from Target, like hundreds of them, and like clipped off their arms or some shit. I don't even
Jesus.
remember. It's been so long. Yeah.
Okay,
what?
well, I sounds like I stand corrected here.
That does kind of rival Chris Chan's like Sonic's arms aren't blue.
Yeah, when he had that
Don't call anybody.
that public outburst, was that what you'd call that?
Well, which one?
Yeah, right. Anyway,
Don't call anyone.
anyway, going back.
Indeed. Okay.
So Speed, Aaron, I wanted to talk a little bit about what was your like introduction into the Sonic Archie series? How did you discover it?
I can't really remember per se. I think it's because as a kid, I just obviously enjoyed Sonic so much. And growing up in the like really early 2000s, you are obviously given unfiltered internet connections. So I just looked around online, and I guess I must have found that the Archie Sonic comics existed just by, I guess, reading a Sonic wiki or something along those lines. But my strongest memory is obviously the Sonic Mega Collection on the GameCube with its archive of all of the covers of Archie Sonic, I believe. And obviously that gave me a really good impression of it, because all the cover art, even in the what we call the before era on the podcast, was really strong. It was really good. A lot of it because it was done by Patrick Spazatine, who is definitely the strongest artist in that era. So I guess when you actually read the comics, you kind of go, oh, I've been lied to.
For me, it was I went to sleepaway camp for 2 years at a place that I didn't end up going back to. But I remember my mom and I were talking about things that I could do. And I said, and she's like, well, you know, when you have downtime, you might want something to read besides books. So I was like, oh, well, what, comic books or something? She's like, yeah. So we went to a comic book shop. And I remember seeing Sonic comics and being like, Ma, can I get these? And she was like, sure. So I read a lot of Sonic comics at camp. And I remember the issue I ended up, one of the issues I ended up getting, which I think was like one of my first Sonic comics, was the one where Fiona betrays the Freedom Fighters. That's one of the ones I remember very, very, very acutely. So, yeah. And then I picked up Sonic comics here or there over the years, and, you know, bummed off another friend of mine who picked them up, and I don't know. That's how I got into it.
Okay, so most of you kind of started in the Flynn era before like the Penders and Gallagher and the...
Yes,
the other
however, I
guys'
do
names.
want to say that my first Sonic comic was issue 157, which was right before Ken Penders left. So I still have that. It's in my closet right now. A little worse for wear over the years, but it's still there.
Mark, I was going to ask you, what's your first comic? Because I know you read this series too.
My first Sonic comic.
Yeah, the Archie series.
I have issue 1. I started issue
shit.
1. Yeah, so I still have issue 1. So I have issue 1s through 25 all in mint condition in my house.
Nice.
So yeah, the Michael Gallagher era, I started right from the beginning. I actually even have not all 4, but I have issue 0 and 1 of the first miniseries as well.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
So I started with actual issue 1 of Sonic the Hedgehog, and then later on I found issue 0 and 01 when I was a kid. So I guess that was around 92. Yeah, or maybe 93. Yeah, 93. I think.
Yeah, it's around that time. Yeah.
Yeah, 93. It was definitely 93, and then it was right around the time that issue 1 had come out, and then I kind of trailed off around issue 25. I stopped reading, and then I came back to it, like in the hundreds.
Oh, you did come back to it.
I did, yeah.
Oh, okay. You got, because my story is, I mean, you have me beat because my first issue was 6. Because I remember the Spinball cover. Because I remember, like, as I was like a 6-year-old. And, like I drew over it, and like you could see like the indentation from where I drew over it, and because like at that time, like I'm not thinking about like, man, this thing's gonna be worth millions when I get older. I'm not thinking like that. I'm just thinking it's some piece of paper with a character on it. And so, and then I got up to issue 71. I think maybe Speed, maybe you remember this one where it's the one where it's like, this is the strangest issue ever.
Oh
and my
God.
I remember reading that and like, this isn't that strange. And I think at that point I'm like, nah, I'm done. I'm done with this.
It was too strange for you.
No, it wasn't strange at all. And I'm like, it's just backwards. Like, that's not, I guess it's weird, but okay.
Thank you, Ken Penders.
Well, that wasn't the Ken Penders issue. That was like a Carl, I can't say his name. Carl Bowler's. That was a Carl Bowler's thing.
I'm pretty sure they both wrote in that issue.
I think it was just Carl Bowlers who wrote that story in particular. He may have wrote the B story, we call it.
See, I'm looking it up.
Okay. This is the miracle of the internet.
Yeah, they
this is
both
how we end all arguments.
They both worked on that issue, but I don't know if Ken Penders wrote that story. Right?
Yeah, I don't think so because Carl Bowlers was the one who was mostly doing the Sonic comic. And then Ken Penders did the Knuckles stuff, which I had all the Knuckles issues up until like issue 23. And after listening to your guys' podcast, I'm like, I don't remember any of this. I'm like, how did I eat this stuff as a kid?
You want to know why you don't remember? Because it is literally forgettable.
It's just exposition dumps, man. It's just, dude, I mean, I literally said it on like one of the first episodes I got on. It's exposition dumps and Christ allegories. That's all it is. It's boring.
Yeah, there's only so much you can mine through that, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you'd think that like you would want to put more stuff in the games, which eventually happens much later with the Flynn era. But, you have Ken putting all of his own stories into Sonic, which are kind of like, they don't fit. And it's just, I don't know. It doesn't work. Let me get to an actual question here. So despite feeling, you felt like the comics got good at 160. Can you say that? Would you say that I got good after 160 with the Flynn era?
After 160, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree.
I guess my question here is, what is it that made you keep going? And don't say the podcast, because you have to make the podcast, you have to make content. But was it that they're just so funny? Because, I mean, listening to this is hilarious. If I didn't know they didn't get good later, I would have just stopped reading. Because I remember, like, when I stopped reading after issue 71, I would see that one issue was at 99 with Sally and Mina and Sonic on the cover, where they're like trying to tell some story of like a love triangle. And I'm like, okay, so I guess that's a thing. I'm still not going to read them.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, well, let's see how I can put it like this. I am sick in the head. Okay, I have a very gross curiosity as to, these comics are bad. All right, I'll see how bad they are my fucking self. So I go into them, and it's past issue 71 to issue 159. I think it's a slow burn. Like, there comes a point where you're just reading these comics and you're just taking it all in the chin until you realize, like, hey, wait a minute. How did it get this bad? What happened here? I'm specifically talking about Mobius 25 years later. Supposedly, Ken's MO, his big story, everything he was building up to led to this. I remember hearing about that, and it's like, oh man, this is so bad. And people described it to me as if it was funny bad. They were describing it as if something, you got to see just how bad it gets. And then we go through it. And it's bad, yeah, but it's not funny bad. It's just bad. There's no enjoyment here to be had.
Yeah, that's a pretty good description. I mean, the ending, for somebody who's just stumbling upon this podcast, and, sorry, spoilers, but it's... The ending is just like Sonic dies, but like a different iteration of him comes up. How would you explain that ending?
He didn't die. He was just being like time warped, and that's just where the story ends. That was the other thing that I really disliked about it, because the story doesn't end. It's just that it just stops like where you would feel like the rising action would be in. But it just stops there. We ended with an epilogue scene of like Sonic and Tails, like present Sonic and Tails, just skipping stones in the pond in Knothole, and Tails going, "Oh, Sonic, what do you ever think about the future? Do you ever think about what we could be doing?" And Sonic's like, I don't know, Tails. I'm a little too focused on the present right now." And that's it. That's all we get for what is supposedly Ken's big. Everything is built up to this point. What is this?
Yeah, I want to know, like, what's Ken trying to say with this? It's like, when you're making a story, obviously you want to, like, tell some sort of message or make some sort of point, but I don't know.
No.
You know, here's the thing. So, Ken comes from, like, the Silver Age of, like, comic books. And I think a lot of what it is that what you're reading in the Archie comics is a lot of it is Silver Age stuff. Would you agree with this? Like, how familiar are you with, like, comic books? Because I don't know very, very, very little.
I mean, me as well. Most of my learning, I guess, of the comic book industry and its history has obviously been through the Sonic comic primarily. So whenever I talk about things of like, oh, this issue is a milestone issue, I just know that just through osmosis. I've tried to even still look up, okay, what is milestone issue mean? And I get no information. I just assume that every 25 issues is a celebration issue, just because in the industry, books tend to get canceled by the time they reach issue 10. So the fact that they survived to 25 is a miracle.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting how like the comic book industry in general runs. Like, one of the biggest problems, and ironically, I think this is something that's actually pretty nice about Archie Sonic, is that not a lot of the stories require the interweaving, intersecting narratives that a lot of traditional comic books seemingly go through. So it's all pretty straight shot. For the most part, yeah.
Yeah. Because even then, you still have like the side comics, whether it be the Knuckles comics or even in Sonic Universe in the Flynn era. You know, even in text, when you're reading like just an issue, one of the characters will just say, "Oh, you know, I was off doing this other little thing," and there'll be an asterisk obviously in the corner, just like, "Oh, this thing was described in this Sonic Universe issue or in this previous issue." And you know, if you don't have the context, you don't really like need to know, but it's there if you want to know more, I suppose.
Yeah, which is nice.
Right. So I guess we talked about this a little bit, but when did you first discover the name Ken Penders? When did this name, like, enter your head?
God.
Well, I think I can begin. I think I just learned Ken Penders being the one who wrote the comic just by that, you know, as I previously mentioned, just me looking into this comic and not thinking that much about it. But when I really started learning about this individual, was actually through a Tumblr blog called Ask Ken Penders. So they are, I should say like this. So she's chronicling her own journey into the Archie Sonic comics. And she actually is a partial inspiration for me to do the Archie Sonic Digest as well. So she is describing very similar to what I do, you know, not just what's going on in the comic, but giving her commentary on it and even going as far as to give behind the scenes details as to what's going on as far as development goes. And that's from there is where I started to pick up on all of the things that Ken Penders does. And then, of course, let's not mention the lawsuit, which I think is the most formative opinion most people have on Ken.
Yeah, I would say that.
Well, it brought him into the public light.
Yes, absolutely.
And he won't be quiet about it on Twitter. He wants to let you know that there was a lawsuit and that something happened.
Well,
Penders, dude,
something
that man
did
is
happen,
the most,
all right.
Yeah, the Ken Penders incident, you know.
Well, I mean, it definitely was the main thing. The main thing of his life that has affected him the most. I mean, his babies are being stolen away from him, or according to him at least.
Yeah, you know, all those really interesting echidna characters, like you know, it's that one panel where it's all the echidnas and the echidna ancestors, and they're all just reskins of Knuckles with different hats and outfits.
We haven't talked about the lawsuit on the podcast yet, but to give like a brief like what I think about the issue, I can definitely respect Ken thinking that like he was screwed over, because it's the comic book industry. Most creators tend to be screwed over, and if he was trying to seek some kind of restitution, at least he did it the right way, trying to go through the courts. But it was just such a bungled mess that by the end of it, it just becomes, Jesus Christ, man, like, what was all this for? Were you really trying to seek restitution here, or was this just self-aggrandizement? And that's a rhetorical question. We know the answer to that.
I mean, whichever way you want to interpret it or spin it, I suppose, the Ken Penders situation was, I think, quite a painful memory for most people in the community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty interesting how like Ken essentially warped not only Sonic as like a whole, but like this comic in such a fundamental way. Like, I'm pretty sure that a big reason that Sega has sort of put a leash on Sonic Team, aside from like community opinion, is because of Ken. Like when it comes to story and characters, right? Because they're worried that a Ken situation could occur again, where it's taken out of context, and then Ken, using his knowledge, I don't know if I want to describe it as knowledge, of the US legal system, sues Sega and says that these are infringing on my stories and my characters. It's a thought. I mean, yeah, dude, I'm telling you, it could be a thing. I mean, that man has sued for less.
Yeah, he clearly has. But no, I have a theory about all this. My personal theory is that with the way Ken posts on Twitter, I really think he's trying to like bait Sega into suing him. Because stick with me for a second, okay? The first time Ken was in the legal system in this situation, Archie sued him because he was copywriting characters that he made for Archie, which they said violated his contract. Let's not get into specific about that, because that can be a whole hour in and of itself. But he settled on that case, but he says he won. So in his mind, he won that case. But in the other way around, where he tried to sue Sega and BioWare for what he said were copyright infringements on him, that was thrown out of court. So effectively, he lost. Now, to be clear, that was thrown out on for separate reasons. I'm blanking on the word now. I'm sorry, but it was thrown out for reasons not relating to the lawsuit itself, the grounds of it. So if we want to simplify it, Ken could believe that if Sega tries to sue him, he could be in a legal position where Sega will have to prove everything on his grounds. And if that's the case, then maybe Ken believes he could walk away with something more than he already has.
That actually makes a lot of sense. So he's playing 4-dimensional underwater basket weaving chess or something.
Absolutely. That is the Ken Penders MO, and has always been the Ken Penders MO.
Wow.
Well, he was using words like simp before we all were, so...
Yeah, he
I
sure
don't know
was.
I don't know if that's actually his writing, so I don't know. And I guess you could say he created NFTs, too.
Yeah.
Wait, I don't think I've ever heard anyone describe it like that. Oh my god.
I need more coffee for this.
Yeah, we have opened a dark chest.
Okay, well, I don't know. I mean, okay, with all this in mind, because I've listened to the podcast, and you've said things before where like you say you're afraid of like flying too close to the sun by actually like tweeting at Ken. Would you ever consider actually interviewing him?
I would.
I mean, I would too. I'd love to talk.
I would love to.
See, but here's the thing, guys. I don't think that could ever happen. To be clear, though, to answer your question, if the opportunity were to present itself, I would be willing to do it, because let's just be real. Like, that's just good content. Like, come on. Let's be real here. But in a realistic setting, I don't think Ken would be willing to talk to me or Aaron in any capacity, because from what I've seen, he only tends to talk to people that are already in his favor. And even if in the scenario where he would agree to interview us, I feel like I would have to give like 10 compliments before we get to a criticism. And from a journalist perspective, I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I would not feel comfortable interviewing Ken for several reasons, but I think the biggest one is that nothing would be accomplished with said interview. Like, if you really look at how Ken interacts and functions as a human being, it's always about either getting some sort of favor or connection and trying to use that to advance whatever harebrained shit he has going on. And I would feel very scummy doing it. Like, I would interview him for the sake of interviewing him, but I don't think he'd ever bite, you know?
Why? Because you feel like you'd be too critical?
Well, I mean, I feel like that's a very obvious yes, but it's also like Ken is, how do I put this? He deflects everything. If you read any of his tweets, if you read any of his writings or his musings, he deflects. It's always about, well, he said so and so or she said so and so. It's the whole bit where Ken is where we talk in the retrospective, right? Where Ken is trying to like talk about to the movie executives and claims that Ben Hurst, who was the writer of Sad AM, like it was his fault that the movie didn't get made, or, you know, it's Carl Bowler's fault that he got kicked off the comic, or any of that shit, right? It's always like somebody else's fault. And like, I don't want to deal with somebody like that, frankly.
And so do you think that this might explain like quite a few of the problems that ended up being contributed to the community and the way the stories are told?
Absolutely. Perhaps. I mean, I think it's very obvious that like when you look at everything post Endgame, right, you could slowly start to see that creep into the comic as the oversight became less and less, and Archie started kind of moving away from the comic and just letting the team do whatever they want. And Ken felt it was his mission to sort of shepherd the comic forward. But in doing so, he just leaned in on all of the worst aspects of his writing and just completely and totally took the wind out of anything really that interesting from the comic. I mean, because let's be completely honest. Aside from a bunch of setup for shit that is incredibly interwoven and incredibly overtly complex, what really happens in Archie Sonic from like issue 100 to issue 160?
Well, I would ask you the same question. What happens between issue 1 to 160? but
I mean, to be fair to Mike Gallagher, to be fair to him, his deep storytelling was never really his forte. This really was just to him, oh, you know, we're doing a fun Saturday morning romp, because that's just what he knows and that's what he was going for. And I can respect that much for at least being, you know, obviously transparent. That's what he's going for. But with Ken, it's always like, this all has deeper meaning. There's something else going on here. We're going to work to build up to this. You'll see. You'll be proven wrong. And then we're back to where we started.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm being unfair to Gallagher in a sense that I realize that the very early issues of Sonic the Hedgehog, I mean, they sold themselves because they're meant for children who want to read more about Sonic's world. I mean, myself included. And no, they're cute, and many of the stories didn't really have much to do with Sonic in general, much like the stories of in the cartoon Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. But they have their charm, and when we look at things with Ken Penders, though, it's very obvious that he's a big fan of the Silver Age, specifically the Silver Surfer comics, I would say. And he set up that sort of new founded universe for us to explore.
Yeah, and you can tell in his early writings, he was clearly very inspired by Marvel, DC, Star Trek, you name it, all the classic series that, you know, baby boomers grew up with. And he even goes as far as to just flat out lift stuff from other comics. There was one time, I remember this so vividly. There was a scene where I think Knack the Weasel was flying his bounty hunter ship, and it's just flat out the Millennium Falcon. It's not even like transparent. They're not hiding it. It's not even
subtle, right?
It's not subtle at all. They just drew the Millennium Falcon in a Sonic comic. It's like, yep, this is Knack the Weasel's bounty hunter ship. Like, what is this? What are you doing?
Yo,
How are you not
Disney.
being sued?
The ones to take down Ken are going to be Disney. I'm telling you, it's Disney. They'll find that shit. He's getting sued. It's over.
So another question here is, in your opinion, back during this time period, were there any other key figures you think that actually could have questioned or stopped Ken's creative authority?
Well, in theory, that's what the editors are for, right? The editors at Archie that just, tell him, hey, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. Maybe we should go in this direction. Maybe we should, yada, yada. But I have another Ken theory, okay? Mm-hmm. I don't know what he was like to work with on a specific level, but I kind of feel like after a certain point, the editors at Archie just stopped they just stopped being intricate with Ken, and they just flat out stopped reviewing his work and just approving it without even looking at it. Because in my mind, if I was in this situation, given what I know about Ken, I would just get some script / art or both on my desk, and I go, God, I don't want to look at what's in here, but he's been here too long, and I can't say anything. So you know what? I'm just gonna sign this off. If there's anything bad in here, I would rather deal with my boss. I'd rather deal with my boss than Ken himself.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty accurate way to put it. I mean, the oversight issue is something that we did talk about fairly on the podcast, but it just reached a point where it's just but how though? Because some of the topics and the conversations that are had are how did this get past anyone? I mean, there are literal dingo Nazis in Archie Sonic, in the fucking Knuckles comics. Did somebody just say, sure, whatever, let it go? I
mean, that's the only way, right? I wouldn't... It's just so baffling. I have no words for it. I have no words for this.
Well, man, I'm sorry, Ken Penders. I hope to have you on the show sometime. This is sorry, Ken.
Great segue.
Good luck. Good luck.
So from doing this show, you talked a lot about what's going on behind the scenes at Archie. You seem to do a lot of research, which I'm very happy to hear because, I can't be fucked to do this. So, and you seem to, there's a lot of mysteries that seem to, have come up that you talk about on the show. One of them being who is Many Hands? Who is Rami Chacon or whatever his name is? With these two names in mind, are there any Archie Sonic mysteries that you'd like to be revealed besides these two? Or do you even want them revealed? I guess is a better question.
I mean, honestly, I do want to have them revealed just for the juicy, delicious drama of it all. But I think there isn't really any on the top of my head that I could think of. The one thing that I would want to know more about is something that I mentioned before on the podcast, is that I kind of just want to know more about Ken and his process and what he was doing kind of to everyone else. Because one thing that we talked about in the retrospective episode was how Carl Bowlers and Ken Penders would just kind of butt heads to each other, not just in office, but in the comic book itself, with certain lore wanting to get revealed. But, Carl Bowlers has something, Ken Penders has something, Carl Bowlers gets to it first, and then Carl Bowlers steps into Ken's territory with the Return to Angel Island arc. I just want to know, what was it like to deal with him? I want some testimonies of just oh man, please don't talk to me about my war crimes, my war trauma. Please don't bring that up.
Oh.
We talked to somebody in this podcast, a guy who's making a book on the entire history of Saddam, and he interviewed Ken, and his name is Jake, but he was telling us that when he interviewed him, he said he's not as threatening as he is on Twitter. Because I imagine if any interactions are, if they're anything like what they're like on Twitter, oh God, I don't want to deal with this person. Because I mean, you look at his Twitter, he responds to everybody.
He's terminally online. He is terminally online. That's the problem here. But look, I believe you when you say that Ken's like not that bad like in person or when you're talking one-on-one with him. That kind of does seem like the vibe is that he's all bark, no bite. But even still, I believe Jake, you said was his name, the Sad AM book guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can believe him when he says that in talking in a one-on-one situation. But it feels like to me that he was coming at him from a more neutral position. Whereas in the case of me and Aaron, as we've mentioned before, we would not be coming from that position. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Well, so now that you've made all the Ken Penders, issues, now that those are behind you, do you think you're gonna miss it at all? Do you think you're like, should we open that again just for some lulls?
Let me tell you something. All right, guys, let me tell you something. So at work, I kind of have a lot of downtime. So sometimes I'll just listen to some episodes of the podcast just to pass the time. And I'm going to be honest with you. Whenever I try to like boot up or listen to any of the older Ken Penders era episodes, it's kind of difficult for me to listen to them. Not because like I think the content is bad or anything. Like my reactions or me describing them or any of the guests I had on in that era were like giving me bad material. But it's just that the comics itself were just so much of a dredge to listen to. And now that we're in the Flynn era and we're having things that are actually like palpable, forget anything else, but it's just palpable now compared to Ken. It's just like, I don't want to like spend my time on this, unfortunately. I would rather listen to something, that Ian Flynn worked on. And I know this kind of sounds like I'm coming at it with a bias because both me and Aaron grew up with the Flynn era, not the Ken era. You can have that opinion if you so choose to. But I really do honestly believe that Ian's material is just objectively better compared to Ken's.
Yeah, I think something that that I find personally about those episodes and just the entirety of Ken Penders in general is like, I've tried listening to a couple of them and I feel like personally, I don't like how I was and how obnoxious I was during it, because I just feel like I kept beating the dead horse. But it's like, what else can you really say? You're dealing with the writings of somebody who is trying to write another comic inside of a Sonic comic, and it just doesn't fit. It's exhaustive.
Not only that, but there's also the fact that we just see the same, writing problems and story issues, art problems as well, just over and over and over again. After a certain point, you just go like, man, what do you want me to say? Because I've said we're seeing the same problems. Do you want me to say the same stuff? Do you just want to have last week's podcast again this week? Because we can just do that. We can do that, definitely. So I don't think it's like, how do I put this? I don't think it's anything on you, Aaron, in my opinion, because I have the same sentiments to myself, because it's just we see the same problems over and over and over again with Ken. And even in the few moments where there's something actually like, okay, maybe there's a twinkle of something good here going on, at the end of the day, we keep coming back to the same issues. And it's just, what do you want from me, man? I'm just the messenger here.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I think that there is no better way to describe it than that. It's exhaustive, when you've seen your 30th Christ allegory for Knuckles, and you have to look that dead in the eye, and you have to try and confront it again. Do you make the joke that you've made 29 times before, or do you sit there and just say, "You already know what we're gonna say"?
It was exhausting.
Yeah, fuck that shit. I'd rather be reading Ian Flynn stuff forever. Jesus Christ.
Right. Well, the thing I find really interesting about Ken, or his work in general, I mean, based just a lot of it was based about what I've just listened to on your podcast. Because I just don't have the patience for it. The funny thing about his work is that it's boring, but it's twisted at the same time. Like, what? Two of these things shouldn't go together.
Yeah, it's really jarring. Like, you're just reading like some bland material, and then out of nowhere, Charmy's best friend dies of an LSD overdose. I'm like, oh, what? Huh? When did this happen? I need to go back a couple pages. What the heck?
Wait, what was the flower called again?
Lemon Sundrop Dandelion.
That's what it was.
Subtlety, thy name is Ken.
Absolutely.
You think he's a bit of an edgelord? It's like, yes, I got Archie to agree to it.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
He kills quote unquote Sonic. I mean, and do you need more than that as far as I'm concerned?
Right.
I must say that yes, I do appreciate your podcast for doing, because you're doing exactly what I don't want to do. And yeah, because you're doing it, I don't have to, right?
That should be the tagline. We're doing what you don't want to do.
Right.
Sorry, I don't mean to brand your show. Excuse me.
So both me and Radley really do appreciate it, because you're saving us the time and pain.
I mean, that's kind of the goal I like to think of the podcast, is that here is something in the Archie Sonic comics that, for obvious reasons, Sega doesn't want to touch. Forget the lawsuit and all the baggage that it has. They have now another comic being run in IDW with its own separate canon, its own characters, a whole license that you can buy officially at your local comic book store or wherever you want to go. From a business perspective, they have no reason to talk about the Archie Sonic comics, even if there was nothing wrong with it. So I'm here saying, look, this is a piece of history. For all it's bad and good, the Archie Sonic comics are a real piece of history that deserve to be preserved. And I think by that Sega sweeping it under the rug, despite they have every good reason in the world to do so, I think it's a shame. And I think this deserves to be withheld. And honestly, I've said this a lot especially in the early episodes, is that I really want listeners to read the comics as we go along them. Because that, I think, having people to like really break down what you're seeing and really just go along with what's happening as like a guided reading, I guess you could call it, it'll help to really contextualize everything that you're seeing, because there are a lot of oddities that kind of don't make sense unless you know some behind the scenes details. And that's what I like to think we're doing with the podcast. That, and also if, it's kind of like, as you said, Mark, it's a lot. There's if we're counting the main issues, the spin-offs, etc., we're counting to like almost just well over 500 individual comic books. Like, that's just a lot, period. So to have someone, perhaps find the podcast and say, oh, I've heard about these. I've never had the time to read them myself, but, maybe I'll give this a shot. Start at the beginning, and then just you're along for the ride after that.
Yeah. I mean, I fully agree with Speed. I joined on as a guest, but I got really into it, and I just became co-host.
He became co-host because he was good at it. That's why.
I'm all right. Don't hype me up. Come on.
Of course, earlier.
You know what, listeners, go check out the Archie Sonic Digest for yourself, and you be the judge. How about that?
So you mentioned briefly on one of your episodes that you said that you matched for dates on Tinder with talking about God. Sonic the Comic.
Okay, I want to know more
about this.
Okay, listen.
Whoa, what?
Okay, look. I'm gonna be. Let's be real here, all right?
Okay, yeah.
If someone comes up to you and they say, "Hey, do you want to hear about the time Knuckles the Echidna got migrated as a baby?" What would your response be?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm getting here at. It works, folks. It works. And listen,
you heard it here, folks.
And listen, folks, don't be shy.
Tip 105.
Listen here, folks. Sonic the Hedgehog is in right now, okay? It's not cringe anymore. The Paramount movie slap. The people love it. I love it a little too much, because one girl I matched with said Knuckles was really hot, and I was like, okay, I've bitten off more than I can chew. I'm going elsewhere. Thanks for your time, though.
Isn't that what they call in the pickup community? An IOI, an issue of interest. And don't ask me why I know that.
Well, let me tell you, from that individual in particular, I saw more red flags in the Soviet Union, so I had my reasons.
Oh. Okay. All right. Yeah, no, I was just very curious about that. I guess...
Hey, that's a fair question. That does need to follow up on, I understand.
Yeah. And another thing that you said in your podcast, and this is a joke. I should probably, say this first. But how does one be appropriately horny for Linda?
What?
You don't remember this? You said
No, we know what we're talking about. But like, look, Linda.
Look, oh God, no. We just talked about her yesterday. Holy fuck.
We recorded an episode yesterday. Yeah, look, this character in Linda is not likable. Okay,
No, that's what I've seen.
It is.
Yeah.
I don't understand why Ken or Stephen Butler or any of them draw Lane Daw like that. And listeners, I would say go look it up for yourself, but don't. I'm sparing you. Please don't. I don't understand why they draw her like that. And besides that, she's just not a good character. She's just not likable, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything that she's done in the comic thus far has been for her own self-aggrandizement and really just on a personal beef with her sister, Julie Sue. That's really it. This character is not that deep. Even in Ian Flynn's era, I think he's come to understand that this character is not redeemable in any way, shape, or form, so he just doubles down on all the negative qualities about her.
Yeah,
Right.
it's just like exhaustive. It's weird because Lynn Daw in a lot of ways is like this. It's like a holdover from the Penders era, and like, you know, story beats are going to be holdovers from the Penders era, but like specifically, Lynn Daw feels like a Ken Penders character in an Ian Flynn comic, and he just has to work around her because she's integral to the plot now. So she's just obnoxious and awful, and the way that they've tried to sexualize her is just, it's so cringe. It's so weird, man.
Yeah. Well, I guess there are some people who are some, Ken Penders fans. We hear you out there. You may be critical of Ken and his work, but
Look, I understand.
it is what it is.
It is what it is. I understand. Let's leave it at that. I understand.
Yeah, I understand.
So, which makes me want to kind of ask this question. So, you probably know that, the Lara-Su Chronicles, which is Ken has been trying to get out for 10 years.
10 years.
It's 10 years, right?
It almost. I think it was in 2014. Okay. I told this story on the podcast as well, but I'm going to tell it here again. I was there. I was there at the convention, SuperCon 2014 in Miami, Florida, where Ken revealed the Lara-Su Chronicles.
Really?
It was, I say I was there because, let me paint you guys a picture. The artist alley is basically like, think half the size of a football field. So I'm hanging out with my friend, we're having a good time, and then we're in the artist alley. And I'm in one corner, and I see on the far opposite side of the convention hall, I see a banner of the classic freedom fighters in their classic designs. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then my eyes focus, and I see the individual who's sitting at the booth. And I grab my friend's shoulder, and I say, dude, that's Ken Penders. And we booked it. We dared not even step foot in the hall after that.
Huh, you didn't want to talk to him, have long conversations about...
No. No.
What's his thing? He's like, he likes feet fetish or something? He's like a...
Okay. Okay, look, I know the context behind this. There was some commissioner that, for some reason, asked for that Lane Daw being feather tickled by Robotnik, which... Number one, dude, you could have said no to that commission, you could have just not done that. Have some respect for yourself.
No. He enjoyed it.
He enjoyed it.
I would do. It's Ken. I would imagine he would enjoy the fuck out of that.
Well, because, he made that one issue with Tails with him getting feet tickled in that, with the Robo
Oh, God, I
Hedge
remember
issue.
that.
Oh, no,
I remember
please,
that.
God, no, please, God, no.
Wait, has anyone read the Lara-Su Chronicles?
What do you mean, has anyone read it? It doesn't exist.
Yeah, it literally doesn't exist.
I mean,
it's
no. What I mean is, like, isn't there like some kind of like, isn't there anything like attached to it like that we can read?
There's some like preview pages Ken has made,
Yeah.
but like those are few and far between because, like you said, it's been 10 years since he announced that basically, and he has nothing to show for it. No, not really, at least. He keeps saying that he wants to release it as an app. Like, he wants to make it basically like a visual novel almost, where it's full motion, there's voice acting behind it, and he wants to translate it on like every language under the sun. I'm sure at this point, if someone tells him to, he'll translate it into Tolkien Elvish or whatever it is. But I don't know what's taking so long. I really can't say.
He's a one-man show. Give him some credit.
Yeah, you can say that.
Because I've already been looking for any kind of like leaks or any kind of material to look at. So I'm just wondering if anyone has read anything. But
Nah, I wouldn't know, unfortunately.
I think we would have found it by now. I mean,
I guess you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, the internet won't be quiet about.
I know. I should have thought of that. But
No, it's fine. I mean, I would have thought the same thing.
but what was it? He said it's still not quite finished back in 2020.
Hey, fair enough. You know, art takes time, Ken. No rush.
Yeah, you know, we'll wait another decade for your masterpiece. You know, 5 issues long.
The worst part about all this is just like the more I learn, the more it's just sort of like you were saying on your show. It's just that just how he doubles down on some of the commentary that's out there. Like when he got in trouble for the feet tickling thing, for the Lindaw thing. And he's like, no, it's a commentary about the Trump administration and Hillary Clinton.
You know, yeah, all right, sure, buddy, whatever. I don't have the energy for this anymore. It's a commentary about the. Okay.
Have you seen this? You've
No,
seen this,
I've
right?
seen it. I know what you're talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
Okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one who noticed.
I'm like, Ken, look, you can just say someone was horny in your DMs and you got money for it. That's fine. You can, like, be shameless there. I can at least respect that much, or say, like, no, look, I just did this for money, man. I'm like, yeah, I would too. I understand. Because that's kind of what my problem with Ken is, that he just keeps doubling down and obfuscating and deflecting, and I'm just like, Ken, people would just have so much more respect for you if you were just honest. If you can look someone critically in the eye and they're being critical to you and say, yeah, no, you're right. That's kind of wrong. That's kind of on me. I'm sorry about that. You know, if it was more like that, I could be like, okay, man, like at least you can acknowledge your faults, but he can't even do that.
Yeah. I guess my last pivot here before we wrap things up. What would you have to say about Ian's work? If you have to say anything critical, there's got to be something.
Well,
I still haven't read them. I haven't gotten through them because, like as I said, I've been listening to your podcast just to like read these things. Like sometimes I flip open my phone. I'm like, all right, which issue is he talking about? And I just like flip through and I look for the panel you're talking about, because by the way, I guess you could do a stealth plug here. You could subscribe to his Patreon to see the video feed and see all the you show all the panels, right? I haven't subscribed to your Patreon yet.
I show off the panels when they're like, I think like really critical to what we're talking about.
Okay,
that's my my main crux. But no, I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Oh no, I was saying I'm just kind of plugging your stuff because I'm saying.
Oh no, yeah.
What is it? If people want to see the visual side of it, but no, I guess because I haven't read any of the Flynn run in the Archie series yet, because I want to sit down and really appreciate it and take it all in. You know, I'm not one of these things that's like, I'm just gonna flip through my phone and like, see, that looks cool. You know, I'm not gonna do that. But my question is like, if you have any sort of criticism, like. Because it seems like a majority of this podcast today was us mostly just talking about Ken Penders. Is there anything that you could kind of like say is somewhat similar with Ian's work? Or is there nothing?
I mean, I'm confident in saying that Ian Flynn is like the antithesis to Ken in like pretty much every respect. Any criticisms that we talk about with Ian are pretty minute. I remember, I think in like the first episodes of the Flynn run, there was one moment where I don't want to spoil it for you, Radley, so I'm going to just say that there was a very interesting character thing that Ian decided to do with one of the certain characters, one of the central Sonic characters that we did have a criticism about, but that really was just because Ian Flynn, he started this career right out of college. He started as the head writer for Archie Sonic right out of college. So a lot of the little fumbles and the weird little aspects are just him being inexperienced. Now, that's not to say that I think Ian is like the perfect writer and everything he's done is golden and there's nothing wrong with him. No, we have our fair bouts every now and again, just of like, this wording's a little off, or, oh, this kind of, why would you include this? That kind of thing. A lot of the criticisms we have of him are, in all honesty, kind of minute, especially when you compare them to Ken.
Yeah, it's like comparing apples and oranges. They're just completely different.
Yeah.
And it seems like trying to like find huge for us, we just find it, I mean, personally me, I just find it so hilarious that it's so bad. And I guess because like humor in general, what humor is that it's a management of your expectations, right? And so somehow Ken seems to have figured out how to like just completely subvert it in this very twisted way that just gets you talking about it. I don't know how to better say it.
I mean,
yeah, but talking about it for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god, this artwork is terrible.
Don't get us started.
Comics, yeah, dude, I can't even describe it. It's an atrocity.
Have you seen the recent stuff that Ken's posted about like his recent art for Lara-Su Chronicles?
Yeah, so I don't know exactly what went down in the lawsuit, but apparently one of the conditions for his work was to make it, the art has to be not Sonic-like. So he decided to take this cartoony, blue hedgehog art style and go the extreme end and just make it as hyper realistic as he can. And as a result,
definitely extreme. Oh yeah,
it's hideous. It's hideous, folks.
Yeah, just those eyes are too big, and why are they so tall? I mean, I know this is bad for a podcast where you can't see it, but it's just go look for yourself.
Consider that a blessing.
Dude, it looks like it came straight out of fucking 3D Movie Maker from the 90s.
It does.
It does. I mean, that's the first thing I thought of.
I like how my voice actually echoed when I said that. It does. It does.
Yeah, that's how bad it is, folks. Even the echo agrees with him.
Well, I want to thank you for joining the podcast today, Speed and Aaron. I mean, this is the best place where I can end it, but I don't know. Mark, do you have any further questions?
I did, but after looking at the Ken Penders artwork, I kind of forgot what I was going to say.
Yeah, it'll do that. It'll do that.
Oh man.
Yeah, it'll do that.
Oh man. I already did have something I was going to ask, but damn. All right. Okay. I'm sorry. Aside from the comics, is there any other Sonic material, whether it be official or fan based, that you enjoy?
Well, I mean, obviously we're fans of like all Sonic media, so the comics aren't really like anything particularly special to me. I just really like the fact that with these comics, there's just so much. And in a way, the Archie comics are like the most consistent lore Sonic has ever had, for better or for worse. But as far as everything else goes, the games, the TV shows, I really enjoy them. All of them, essentially. And for what it's worth, it's just a good time that I have. My memories of this series as a whole are nothing but positive, despite all its ups and downs. So at the end of the day, I'm having fun, good or bad. I try not to complain in general. Sometimes it gets a little too much, but I try to look on the bright side of things.
Yeah, I feel pretty similar. I mean, I will always love this character, for better or worse, in sickness and in health. I'm almost married to him, but this franchise has meant so much to me over the years, in all of its different forms, regardless of quality. And I hope to keep that alive for a very, 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 very long time to come.
All right, nice. Well, I think that's a great way for us to close our episode then. And again, I appreciate what you're doing. It definitely, I think, saves me, Radley, and a whole bunch of people a great deal of time and having to swim through the goods and the bads of
And the twisted.
and the twisted. Yes.
And the twisted.
Yes. Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time out of your days to come talk with us and have a good time.
My pleasure.
And hey, if you folks listening would like to listen along, start listening to judge for yourself, Archie Sonic Digest. You can find it on YouTube or Spotify. And give us a like, subscribe, follow us, and I promise a good time. Promise a good time.
I can guarantee a good time as well.
Speed's a laid-back guy. He has a good sense of humor, as you've heard here. if you haven't figured that out yet, then oops, I guess.
Oops.
I appreciate my friend. I appreciate him a lot.
And Aaron's a good wingman. He adds a lot to the show. So,
thank you.
Now, why do you think I kept them around? Hey, oh, yeah.
And so to do a little of our own personal housekeeping, come join the Sonic Historian Discord today. Come have a conversation with us. If you'd like to be on the show, send us a message. We'd like to talk to you. If you have a Sonic story to tell us, we'd like to hear from you. Other things, you can find me on YouTube. I'm Radrey. I also do another podcast called Why Come Japan, where I interview creatives in Japan. We're a bit on a hiatus, but it'll get started again very, very soon. You can follow me on Instagram, and I also stream on Twitch under the name Rad Culture. Mark?
And I'm on Instagram. I am Super Famicom. And on Twitch, I tend to stream retro games. So you can find me as Famicom Mark with 2 M's. And actually, that's Mark with a C. M-A-R-C. So Famicom Mark with a C. So please give me a follow.
Yeah, so we have no idea how to end this show. So I'm just going to use the best end quote that I remember from the other podcast episode. So remember, kids, don't do meth and listen to the Sonic Historian podcast.
This bar or cafe I know in Akihabara, like the owner used to work for Sega. He actually worked on Shenmue.
Oh my god, what?
Yeah,
Oh, shit.
He has the original, what is it, the Dreamcast development kit that has the Shenmue prototype on it, like in the bar. So, like the machine is there in the bar.
You gotta tell me what bar this is.
Yeah, and then
I'm saving that.
And then occasionally, the composer of Secret of Mana comes in. And also Moot from the creator of 4chan. He goes
What a cast of characters!
The
composer, Secret of Mana, and the owner of 4chan walk into a bar owned by a developer of Shenmue.
Yeah. Actually, just had an idea here, but like this like Ken Penders artwork, like the Lara-Su Chronicles, like this like
Oh no!
like this
I'm
this
scared.
like this stuff could actually go really far if it was like a horror like comic, or if it was like
you're not wrong. That's
Not
the
true.
part.
True. Eddie Trues. That's true, bro.
like I'm thinking like if he did like some like Junji Ito type of stuff, like it could be like terrifying.
Yeah,
Like,
that one of Snively where he's trying to roboticize somebody, that's fucking terrifying.
Yeah, what was up with
Yes.
that?
That's
What's up
like-
with that?
That's like some Five Nights at Freddy's shit or something. Oh my goodness.
No.
Dude, man, Ken Penders like traced over like Anthony Mackie's face. Oh my god.
Yeah. That's
Dude.
bad. Anyway, guys, a lot of fun. Love having you around. Love talking.
Yeah, I'll be in touch.
Hopefully
I'll message you.
I hope I'll see you guys again soon.
Okay, indeed. Thank you.
All right.
It was,
See you guys.
it was nice speaking to you guys. Have a good one.
Yep. Wait
take
for
care, guys.
Yep. Feel free to leave anytime. I got to wait for the episode to download. So.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Take care.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
See ya.
Hey.
Still there, Mark?
Well, I'm still here.
Yeah.
I'm looking at his Ken Penders artwork.
God damn.
Man, dude, that's Anthony Mackie's face.
It is Anthony Mackie's
Oh my
face.
God! Whoa!
Correct.
And people message him like, "Why are you using Anthony Mackie's face?" Simple. I didn't want to depict just a generic black guy.
Oh, God damn it.
It's like, I mean, yeah, but you didn't exactly get his permission for his likeness to be used, did you? Maybe he'll play the character in the
Probably
film.
not. Well, I mean,
Maybe he'll play the character in the film if there is one.
I think Speed is on to something. He's saying that he kind of wants to.
Dude.